Thanks everyone for joining us today for the November edition for the Chef Partner Webinar. My name is Will Kramer, the Partner Marketing Manager here. So with that, I will be throwing it over to Sudhir Reddy, the VP of Engineering for Chef, to get things started.
Hi everyone, thanks Will. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sudhir. I am the VP of Engineering. I came to Progress from the Chef side of the house. I've been at Chef for about 4 years, and some of you, I see the participants know me. Hi everyone. What we'll be doing today, and Dan is here as well, and he'll be talking through the second half of this deck. On today's agenda, what we have is I'll do a brief overview of Chef in Progress and how Chef fits into the Progress portfolio. I understand and believe that you've seen some of this in the past, so I'll try and keep this as exciting and brief as possible. And then we'll go into some of the product announcements that we just made a week ago. And we'll talk through what we've done there and how we've brought our offerings to the market and all of that. And then Dan will talk us through all the pricing and packaging, which is probably what's super interesting to all of you folks, along with the product announcements, of course. All right, and of course, if you have questions or comments, I think there's a possibility to do that in chat, or you can ask us as well. Progress is a company that has been around for about 40 years now. It's a publicly traded company with PRGS as the ticker symbol. I think these numbers are a little bit before the acquisition. We're up to 2,000 people, or close to 2,000 people now with the Chef acquisition. And the interesting thing about Progress is an ISV that most other ISVs use to build their software, to make their software better and all of that. And we have about 2 million or more actual developers using all of the Progress products. And that includes now the Chef set of products and the IT operators as well as developers working on that. Hundreds of millions of lives that we touch with our software. So if it's out there, it's likely that there's some piece of Progress software within what you're using. In terms of how Progress sees IT ops and the developers, there's this slide. I'll go just build through the build here. There's the developer side of the house and the IT ops side of the house, which is, Progress has traditionally been focused on the developers. Chef, of course, has been heavily focused on the IT operations. And then we're bringing it all together and looking at synergies for where we can bring both developers and IT ops together is what we're doing in this through this acquisition. So if you can, as you look at this, you'll see that there are designers that Progress has tools for. There's business professionals that use our tools. There's data analysts, and there's a pretty robust data layer underneath that. And those of you who are familiar with some of the JDBC and ODBC standards will be familiar with Data Direct and those things. And then we also wanted to make sure that the DevSecOps side of the house has a good representation on the Progress portfolio, and that's one of the key factors to what the acquisition means, both from a Progress perspective as from a Chef perspective. And this is how the architecture of all of the Progress portfolio looks like, right? The modern application architecture. On top, what you'll see is that there's various ways that a piece of software can communicate with its customers, whether that's on a mobile or a wearable, or in these days with AR and VR technologies, as well as the traditional web and chatbots that we have. And in order to build those applications, the adaptive experience is a layer that enables our customers and developers to build on top of all of the layers below and be able to deliver information in whatever form factor that they want. And then there's the cognitive cloud, which enables those interactions with the serverless cloud platform, with intelligence as a service, and rules and content as a service as well. And underpinning all of this is the data connectivity layer, which is the things that I just talked about in terms of Data Direct and what it does with various data sources, whether it's JDBC or ODBC and things, as well as secure file transfer and file storage and that side of the house. Now, where Chef fits into all of this is on the operational assurance side of this. As you're going through all of this work and building out applications for your customers, having that operational assurance and more importantly, the DevSecOps side of the house is where we fit in. And one of the key things to know is Chef is best in class on the DevSecOps side of things, and that the legacy or that that cachet that we have with our customers is what Progress wants to move forward as well, and we want to build out our portfolio based on that. I'm going really fast through these, and this one I'll dwell on a little bit because one of the key things you have to remember is that we will continue building on the momentum that we've already built with the Chef portfolio. We have the vision to becoming the DevSecOps tool in the industry. We want to be able to build out the roadmap as well as the vision that we had. And we want to bring in all of the structures and the resources that Progress can now bring into the mix and leverage those. Another key side of things, and this is a question that often gets asked, whether it's by partners or by our customers or by even our internal developers and engineers, is how committed is Progress to open source? And the answer to that is the same commitments that we had before and all of the things we did with our business model change and how we did things since then, those will all continue in perpetuity. And that I want to scope that by saying that is for the core C side of the business, the Chef side of the business within Progress. There are other tools and things that are not open source, and there's no expectation that we'll bring those to open source. But rest assured that our commitment to our customers and our open source community remains as solid as it was before. I'll pause there for any questions. That's really a really fast overview of why Progress acquired Chef, how we fit in the portfolio, and what the commitments going forward are on that front. In the next section, what I'm going to do is really talk about the product portfolio, the announcements that we made in the last few weeks since the acquisition, as well as fill you in on some of the things that we're doing on Learn Chef and those things. Now, if you remember back in ChefConf and even before that, there were three key themes that we were going after when we looked at our product portfolio and where to evolve them and where to bring them. Bringing workload-aligned products, and I'll elaborate on this a bit in the next slide where I'll talk about the progression of our history, but building out the workload-aligned products and making that the centerpiece of all of our offerings to our customers is a key theme. And then when we just look into an IT organization, we need to make it easy for these IT operators, whether they're on the traditional I&O side of the house or DevSecOps or application operations, et cetera. It's making it easy for customers to use as well as adopt into their environment. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then there's the enabling broad enterprise adoption, where there are many systems of record, many different infrastructure pieces within an organization, and making sure that our toolkit works well with all of these are the three key themes that we're looking at as we look at enterprise software. And then as we build this out, one of the things that we talked about was making it easier for organizations to adopt, and Progress brings a lot of that resource as well as the passion to make those happen. And that's a key thing to remember is we will continue on the journey and we will make that happen. All right, coming to the announcements that we made in October, on the 28th of October, is there are four things here. I'll broadly categorize them into three themes. The first one being we finished our journey towards workloads and solving for workloads with our offerings, that is infrastructure management and app delivery along with others. We've made some key improvements on the compliance side of the house with premium content, with cloud scanning, as well as with being able to consume the content through a SaaS-based interface. And then we've made some key enhancements to our Learn Chef, and we've enabled a validation program that our partners, you all, as well as our customers can leverage. I'll go through the details of each of these. But first, before I go there, what I wanted to talk about was the evolution of our portfolio. And I'm going to use a metaphor here that some of you have heard before, but let me bear with me as I walk through this. In the old days, we had the open core model of Chef, and we had Chef Infra, called Chef at the time. We had Chef Inspect and Habitat, and we brought that all together with observability visualizations through Automate. I think of that in my metaphor as we had power tools. These tools could do a ton of different things. They're power tools. You can take each tool, build out whatever it is that you want to build based on that, and you can also then visualize everything and automate. From there, where we evolved to in the business model change was we brought those tools together and made these stacks, or the EIS and EAS, and brought them together in what I call the toolkit or the toolbox. Along with that, of course, there's always been the journey of some content that we both got from our open source partners, as well as that we built out. And I think of the content as the lumber in order to build furniture. So you have your toolkit, you have lumber, and off you go and build your furniture based on that. And that was through the business model change. In early 2020, what we did is completely rethought and redesigned our portfolio to workload-aligned offerings. And this is where I'll talk a little bit more about what we mean by workload-aligned offerings. Any customer has a workload that they need to solve, whether it is managing a desktop, a fleet of desktops across their organization, or managing the compliance for all of the assets that they have. There's a workload and a specific thing the customer wants to accomplish to be successful. And we redesigned our portfolio to say, hey, in order to make that workload solved, what is the easiest path that we can provide to our customers? And that is what I think of as, in the days of the toolkit and the lumber, to the days of we want to provide our customers fine furniture that is fully finished, that is customizable, that is customized to what they have. They can choose the color they want and the fabric they want, etc. But it all comes delivered in a turnkey way to our customers. So the time to value, the adoption, all of that become extremely easy. And with this announcement, what we did was we finished our journey to these workload-aligned offerings. If you recall, in ChefConf, we had announced Chef Compliance and Chef Desktop as the two new offerings, which was, and I'll talk more about these in detail, but these were bringing the kit together, making sure that we have the right content for these workloads and be able to then deliver that to our customers. And in this announcement a couple of weeks ago, what we did was we also announced Chef Infrastructure Management as well as the application delivery side of the house. Everyone with me so far? Will, I'm not looking at the chat, so in case there's any questions, feel free to stop me and ask.
Will do, but you're all good.
Okay, I'm going to now go into each one of those 4 announcements that we made and talk a little bit more of the details and what we've done in these areas. First up is infrastructure management. This SKU, and Dan will talk about the pricing and packaging a little bit more, is really aligned around the Chef Infra and the Chef Automate kit. What you get with this infrastructure management offering is all of Chef Infra and Chef Automate to be able to use it in your configuration management scenarios. In here, you'll see some of you who have been here for a little bit know that we've been working very hard on our performance improvements, making it simpler to deploy, and easily managing the Chef Infra. Things specifically to call out here are in terms of the technology that we're delivering is that the complexity of having to manage a separate Chef server and a separate Automate server and being able to make those work together, we're going to actually make that a completely, right now it's going to be a blurred line, but that line is going to become less and less so that Infra and Automate and the Infra server will become one thing. Even now, when you install it, what you'll see is when you install Automate, you can also install Chef Server within that. On the Chef client side itself and on the install side, our performance improvements have been tremendous, right? The team has been working very hard on making sure that not only the install experience and not deploying or installing all of these bits that you probably don't need, to the runtime speed and velocity and performance of your Chef client itself, we've improved quite a bit. So that's what we've done on this one. And you're all aware of Upgrade Lab, I hope, where we have enabled our customers to be able to take older versions, Chef 12, cookbooks, etc., and upgrade them to a newer set with as little manual intervention as possible. Only in places where we cannot resolve ambiguities in an otherwise automatic process, we ask that you intervene. Of course, with all of the control of where you have to hit the button to make it all happen at the end, to approve it, in other words. On the application delivery side of the house, one of the things that you as partners will see our customers talk about is, hey, I come from the traditional I&O side. I've been using Chef Infra to manage all my applications in addition to my configuration. And then there's the modern app ops side of the house, or the modern application side of the house, where you are using Habitat to manage all of your applications, et cetera. Our best path forward is for everyone to move to the Habitat side of the house, and slowly, if it's an application management scenario, we want you to be on Habitat. And one of the barriers that the customer had, or one of the struggles the customer had, is I'm on the Chef Infra side managing my applications. I have a licensing barrier to get to Habitat. I have a thing that I need to go and buy. And with Chef Application Delivery, that's one of the key things we're enabling for our customers, is to go from the infra side to Habitat side in a seamless way, no licensing issues, because what you are buying or what you're getting here is the scenario, the workload of application management and application delivery, regardless of how underneath the covers you're solving it. So this will include Chef Habitat, Chef Infra, and Automate, and you can manage your applications based on either of those. And what we've done here is access management, RBAC for deeper control over what's going on, and the deeper integration among tools, not just in the application delivery. I want to talk about the integration among tools a little bit more in this context. We have a feature called DataPath that enables you, gives you an API that you can take data out of from all of the Chef ecosystem. And if you look at what our customers are doing with ServiceNow integration and Splunk integration, or the Elk Stack integration, et cetera, that is the path that customers are looking at. And this enables a ton of scenarios in terms of full round trip integration, right? Something goes wrong with your configuration, you're now able to create IT tickets in ServiceNow to be able to go and resolve that. We've also integrated with the CMDB so that you have a full list of all your assets in one database for inventory management. So those are things that we have enabled with this, and you'll see this across the portfolio. These are enabled. And our deployment to production is 90% faster based on Habitat and how fast you can not only deploy, but also upgrade as you see new versions of your software come through. And your application maintenance overhead is reduced significantly with all the work that we're doing. All right, compliance. This is the offering that we announced in ChefConf, and we've continuously, this is our fastest growing market right now, and we're continuously making heavy investments into enhancements here. And the three things to call out here that we announced was, I'll start with Cloud Target Scanning actually first. Cloud Target Scanning is the ability to go and scan all of your cloud assets, regardless of which, where your footprint is, whether you have an AWS-based footprint or Google-based or Azure or a combination of those, as well as your on-premises and VM-based software. Being able to scan all of those cloud targets is the ability that this really talks about. And we actually have a customer right now, a very large customer, software vendor based out of Europe, that is scanning over 8.5 million nodes using this technology. And they're reporting all of that back into the system, and then they're visualizing those in Elk Stack with Kibana dashboards. So really powerful stuff. Our customers are going to find this as their journey towards the cloud happens, and as they're doing that work, this is going to accompany them and give them real powerful features to do that. In addition, the premium content is extremely important. Remember that it's that lumber that we shape into all the things that we wanted to do. And being able to be on top of premium content, not only in delivering the first cut of standards that customers want to adhere to. So think of CIS standards or benchmarks that our customers want to be compliant with. We provide that content, and we will also provide certified content on that front, certified by CIS, not certified by Chef, but by the authority themselves. And we are also going to have SLAs around these on how fast, when a new benchmark comes through, how fast we upgrade those and how customers can adopt them. Of course, customers take these benchmarks, take these standards that we have, and they will either overlay their own additional things on top, or they'll customize these to their specific needs. But right off the gate, we have content that customers can consume very quickly. And then to consume all of this, as well as keep your content all updated as we provide more and more and newer versions of things, we're announcing the content delivery service, which is the portal to which you can go and you can look at all of the content that you as a customer are entitled to and be able to say, I want this, this, and this, and you adopt that into your organization. And you come back tomorrow, there's a new version of it, you will see that, and you can go adopt that into your system. And then finally, on the announcements, what we did was we have the skills validation program on our Learn Chef platform. As you all know, Learn Chef is the premium for us way of learning how to use Chef, all of our portfolio and various aspects. Now, once you've learned those, what you can now do is have a validation program and acquire badges that you as a partner, and this is very important for our partners, is to be able to take those badges and talk to your customers saying, look, I have gone through the validation program and I have these badges, thereby giving them, your customers, a sense of guarantee that there's a certain amount of skill level that you already have as you come into the house. As well as for our practitioners and for our IT operators, being able to get these will make it portable for them as they go through their career and as they grow, to be able to take those skills and go to a new employer and say, hey, look, I have these skills and I've been certified and validated for these things. So please go check it out on Learn Chef. You can, this is live now, and you should be able to take advantage of this. All right, I'm going to bring all those four together now again to recap and say that we announced Chef Infrastructure Management and Application Delivery as two new offerings that finishes our journey towards workload-aligned offerings in what we had announced earlier in the year. And then on compliance, we continue to make some extremely good investments as well as feature sets that we're getting to our customers. And on the Learn Chef side, we're seeing how important it is to not only learn, but also bring those learnings to various customers and partners. All right, everyone with me so far? With that, what I think I'm going to do is turn it over to Dan. Dan, it's all yours to talk about pricing and packaging.
Sounds good. I was going to say I'm with you, Sudhir. So
thank you, Dan. I know the others are muted, so I assume they're all with me.
Exactly. Well, hi everyone. Dan Hauenstein here. It's great to be speaking with you today. Some familiar names in here. I'm responsible for product marketing and also from the chef side. So that's who I am. I'm going to be taking you through pricing and packaging. Sudhir had kind of outlined the evolution of the portfolio and talked about moving from power tools to furniture. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how that furniture is priced and how it's put together. So I'll start off with the goals. Why are we doing this? Well, this slide gives several reasons why. And a big one is what Sudhir sort of set up at the beginning, which is we're aligning what we sell to the workload owners and the jobs that they do. So for a while, we've been selling to infrastructure and operations teams. And now with more workload aligned offerings, we can become more directly applicable to InfoSec teams, to application teams, to IT resource managers and others who are other buying centers who have budgets. So it gives an opportunity to spread out a bit more across the organization that we're selling into. The second is really raising the altitude of the sale. So moving up from tools and power tools into furniture sales, I guess, if that raises the altitude. But the opportunity there is to be as strategic as possible, looking across what these different organizations have to do in their high value workloads, each of which have ROI that we can drive. Now, deployment complexity, we wanted to take that out of the pricing conversation. Certainly, there's still deployment complexity that we do need to deal with, that all of you understand very well. But now software is licensed in alignment with this outcome, with this workload. And the deployment choices can be made later as you move into actually solving the problems and getting things rolled out. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the examples of the differences here, and walk you through as we go through the rest of it. Simplifying pricing to be node and/or target based. I think people will be happy to hear there are no more service instances in our pricing. So the idea there is to reduce complexity, make it a little easier to sell. The portfolio architecture is also designed to encourage upsell, and there's a couple of different ways that you'll see when I lay out the SKUs. One is that there are a couple of things that have junior and senior offers you can sort of graduate through. And then also making it just easier to get people into EAS, where we really would like, where we see the most value for customers when they're in the full stack. And then finally, aligning entitlements. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is going to be increasingly important as there are more cloud services and more content that becomes part of our offerings over time. Okay, so this is what the Chef portfolio looks like in terms of the products we sell as we go forward. And we've really streamlined it to these 4 workload aligned products: Chef Infrastructure Management, Chef App Delivery, Chef Compliance, and Chef Desktop. In addition to the Enterprise Automation Stack, which remains the way to buy the full stack, the full suite of our products. And they're all made up of the products that we all know and love. The open source projects around Chef Automate, Chef Infra, Inspect, and Habitat. And then Sudhir talked a little bit about the premium content that we keep bringing into the portfolio, and that's a core part of these products and what customers have entitlements to. Now, on the next slide, we talk a little bit about the SKU architecture. Basically, the larger boxes are the products that we speak to, and then the individual SKUs are the smaller boxes. So you can see in the ones that we've recently rolled out around infrastructure management and app delivery, there's one SKU for each of those. But what we rolled out with compliance and desktop around ChefConf, each of those has 2 SKUs, and that's what I referred to when I said you can kind of graduate through that. So you can get someone started where they just want compliance visibility, get them into Chef Compliance Audit, and then easily move up from there into remediation over time. So that's a structure that we have for 2 of those, potentially for the others in the future. On the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about the list price. So you can see that infrastructure management, that's very similar price to if you bought Chef Infra a la carte now. And infrastructure management, of course, brings together both Automate and Chef Infra. Chef App Delivery, a much more straightforward way to buy. It's now priced per node rather than service instance. And that's a lower price, kind of easier for someone to get into and absorb as they look at going into app delivery and working with Habitat. Compliance and desktop, as I mentioned, both of those have 2 layers to the price there, and that's not a misprint. It's more of a coincidence that they're the same, the 60 and 84 across the 2. And that delta between 60 and 84, we also make available a remediation add-on for existing customers who may have entitlements to all of the typical compliance auditing capabilities we provided through EIS or EAS in the past. And they can simply add on remediation content and capabilities for $24 a target. And EAS, Enterprise Automation Stack, that again is a streamlined price. It's a single $250 a node price. So there's no longer a node slash target, but there's no longer a service instance entitlement component there. So that makes it a little bit easier for people to understand and consume. What we also wanted to do was bring that price down a bit from the sort of high end previously. So that's a $250 a node. And the idea there again is we really want to get people into EAS, that's where they going to have the most success with our capabilities. So just will note on this, these are not published prices. Typically, we're not putting these on the website, so we're sharing these obviously with our partner community in confidence, but these are the list prices today. So what do you get for each of these things that you buy? If you look at this chart across the top, these are the different products now that we sell, and along the left-hand side are the entitlements and the tools and the pieces that make up those products. So for infrastructure management as an example, that's really Chef Infra plus Automate. And you'll see that there's a limited use license for Habitat. So that's in circumstances where the customer wants to use Habitat to deploy and manage the Chef Infra client. So the effortless pattern, as we've referred to it internally here, but that's where that Habitat limited use license comes into play. And then when you move to app delivery, essentially what it does is add in the full-blown entitlement to Habitat, so that now you can deploy applications to your heart's desire across all of those nodes for which you're licensed. The compliance audit and remediation, again, limited use license for Habitat for the same situation where you're using that in audit to deploy and manage InSpec. On the compliance remediation side, you're adding in the remediation content and capabilities if the customer would like to use Chef Infra to do remediation with remediation cookbooks, they can do that as well, but it's not a full license to use Infra for all the things. And the rest, enterprise automation stack, of course, is everything. And again, that's what we love to get customers into. On the desktop side, you'll see again the access to the cookbooks and audit profiles for the desktop use case. And similarly, the limited use licenses are for managing those desktop, laptop endpoints. In the case of InSpec and the desktop management, that's really for pipeline testing. So you have a limited number of endpoints that you can manage with InSpec for that one. But again, the idea is that instead of just selling infra at one price and do that for whatever you feel like, now we can be a little more targeted about how we sell to the value of the use case. And in the desktop management case, a price point that reflects that. Okay, and on that note, entitlement here matters, and that's why we want people to get into these new SKUs. One issue that I just referred to is selling infra and just using it for anything. That can be a real issue. It can hamper upsell. It can also make the customer feel like they're locked into a price that's not beneficial for them to expand any further into other workloads. So this gives us an opportunity to sell at those prices, the appropriate prices for the workload. As content continues to become more central to what we offer, and you can see a picture of the content library there, it's important for people to understand what content they have the rights to. Is that audit content, remediation, desktop, etc. And all of that lines up based on being in the right SKUs in the new product portfolio architecture. And that'll also be an issue as we bring more cloud services into the portfolio. Okay, yes, if you just click on the trigger there, but we're fine to go now. So I'll walk through a few examples of how, I guess, the previous way we would have sold is going to happen in this new methodology. Today, a lot of customers buy Effortless Infrastructure Suite for compliance and configuration use cases. To get into the equivalent functionality, that lower path there, now the organization would buy infrastructure management plus compliance audit, and the price is up a little bit on the compliance audit side when we've rolled this out to reflect the fact that now you're getting premium content. And so there's a lot of goodness there in terms of increased value. On the higher road, I suppose, on this slide, it's moving them into the enterprise automation stack. And again, because that price has come down a bit, you're getting quite a lot more for that extra $85 a node now is the difference between the bottom layer there and the top. And that adds Habitat and everything you can do in terms of application delivery, but it also adds the remediation content and gets people into a full compliance remediation solution as well. On the next one, we talk a little bit about Habitat, and I think, again, there's been a lot of cheering to the fact that we're moving away from this service instance pricing. That was, frankly, not a customer-friendly, not a partner-friendly pricing scheme there with Habitat. So now it's a matter of paying $200 a node. You get Chef app delivery. You're also going to get Chef Infra and Automate with that. It's no longer just standalone Chef Habitat that you're buying. So that's a great value. I think we've improved things quite a lot in terms of the value the customer gets with this change. And then for $50 more, you're in enterprise automation stack and thinking about $50 a node to add compliance, audit, and remediation is a pretty good deal and one that I think a lot of customers see value in. And then finally, if you are, I guess, we've talked about this a few times, Sudhir set this up, that there are a lot of customers that use Chef Infra to deliver applications, which works for them in some circumstances, but as we know, has become challenging as they've evolved over time. And that's really why Habitat was built, was to solve that problem more directly. So now we've got a good opportunity to move folks into the right SKUs to be able to make that shift from Chef Infra to Chef Habitat where it is appropriate. So, on the left-hand side, instead of Effortless Infrastructure Suite, it's moving them into EAS. If they are interested in compliance, audit, and remediation, that's kind of the shift that we've made there. And that's, the whole idea of the stack has been to optimize the way that you deliver everything from infrastructure up to the application and then layer compliance across that. And so that, I think, is a good sort of value prop to sell customers on that side. If they're simply on the Chef infrastructure management side, moving them into the app delivery SKU gives them that opportunity then to bring Habitat into play for application delivery. And I think that's Sudhir had mentioned before, removing that license barrier between the two. If you have Chef app delivery, then there's a smoother transition that customers can make from Chef Infra to Habitat where they'd like to. Okay, and I think that's it. I'll probably hand it to Will just to talk through the comms on the next one there.
Yep. Thanks, Dan. Thanks to Sudhir. So we're sitting on the 17th of November, so this current partner webinar, and then we will have a newsletter coming out later in November, following up with a webinar and newsletter. Missed that on the December. We'll have a newsletter and webinar in December, and then January, and then February as well. So keeping the communication rhythm up. And then on the next slide, this is the email alias to get in touch with us if you have any questions. And then I'm also putting a link to that Meet with Chef form that we always end our partner webinars with in the chat. So if there's a person or role that you would like to speak with at Chef, fill this out, and then I will do my best to get you 30 minutes on the calendar with them, ranging from SDR to Dan to Sudhir to Vikram and anyone in between. We're happy to hear from our partners and really want to make sure that we can facilitate any conversations that need to happen. So with that, I have the Q&A pulled up. I don't see anything. Is there any last thoughts that we have from either our presenters or our audience? think this is an opportunity for them to be addressed, but I will take that as a no, that there's nothing else to cover. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to the panelists, and let everyone get on with the rest of their day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.